Today I want to talk about irritable bowel syndrome with constipation and how to deal with it. My name is Suzanne Perezzini and I'm the author of 2 Low FODMAP cookbooks and the creator of several Low FODMAP coaching programs. Now this is an updated video about constipation, including many things that I've learned from the hundreds of clients that have been through my coaching program. There are 6 points to this for you to try to create a situation where your gut resists being constipated. Right, the first one is, of course, the Low FODMAP diet. And we know this now conclusively, that this will significantly reduce your symptoms of IBS. We've just had the University of Michigan come out with the results of their study a few months ago that back up the results of the Monash University's research study on the Low FODMAP diet almost a decade ago now. So we've got 2 research centres saying exactly the same thing. So definitely put the Low FODMAP diet into place. But for those of you with constipation, this is often not enough by itself. You do have to do a few extra things that those with diarrhea don't have to take into account as much. So the second point is your fluid intake. This is absolutely essential. I mean, for everybody. They've done a research study that shows that about 95% of those in the US are dehydrated. Now, that sounds rather dramatic, but it's a research study I read recently. So with constipation, we need that fluid to help the movement of the stool as well as the consistency of the stool. Try to get 8 glasses of water, preferably a day, or they could be replaced by herbal tea. But you have to be very careful with herbal teas because many of them are high FODMAP. So, but not ordinary tea or coffee because they actually have a dehydrating effect. Don't count those as your fluid. The very best drink for us is water. Make sure you're getting 8 glasses a day. Now the third point is exercise. Again, we all know that we should be exercising and how good it is for us from many, many different points of view. But this is just about constipation, and we need exercise to get the gut moving, to relieve cramps, to relax the muscles, to get the blood flowing in the area. So if you can get 20 to 30 minutes exercise every day, walking is plenty. You don't need to be doing pole vaulting or long distance running or anything like that. In fact, we don't want to irritate our internal organs too much with violent exercise. So a good 20 to 30 minute walk a day will get that gut moving. Now, point number 4 is fat levels. Now we know that fat is a gut irritant, and that of course then causes a bit of an issue for us. How much fat can we have? Because your constipation needs the fat. It helps the consistency of the stool and therefore helps it to move through and out. But too much fat and you will get your IBS symptoms of bloating and cramping. The fine line between helping and hindering is different in all of us. In me, the level is quite low. I have to be very careful how much fat I include in my diet or I'll get symptoms. But I also have IBS with constipation, so I'm constantly pushing against that fine line to see how much I can get in before I have symptoms. Number 5 is fiber. Now fiber is a double-edged sword, a little bit like fat, because too much and we get bloating. And all of us who have tried the doctor's advice to have more fiber and to take fiber supplements will notice that it can make us worse. So again, we have that fine line we have to push against because we need the fiber for the consistency of the stool, but too much and we have the symptoms. So we have to start very gently with fiber and build it to a level where we've touched that line. I advise my clients to start with 1 tablespoon of chia seeds with their breakfast and they soak this overnight in a little water to make a gel. So that's fibre, and it's also a good food nutrient-wise for us. That alone might do it, that 1 tablespoon. If it doesn't, then make sure that each day you get in your diet either brown rice or quinoa. They're really good sources of fibre. Quinoa in particular, which, even though it's called a grain, comes from a seed and has quite a lot of protein in it. Now, not everybody can tolerate brown rice, so just test it, go easy, and be aware that that might tip you over that line. Quinoa shouldn't, though. So that's kind of the second step in building your fibre. Now, the third step that I get my clients to follow is oats, rolled oats, instant oats, cooked or raw for breakfast. I don't put that immediately into their diets because it can be too much fibre and certainly irritate some people, and I advise you to go have no more than a quarter of a cup in the raw measurement. You can then cook it, of course. There are many different types of oats, and if you look at the Monash University app about FODMAPs, you'll see a whole lot listed, and there's different amounts you can have of each. So in order not to go over the top with it because of the confusion with the different amounts, I always have a quarter of a cup of oats. And I find that enough anyway. I have that each morning. Now that might be too much fibre for some of you, but it might be that piece of the puzzle that gets your bowel moving nicely. Right, so once you've taken those 3 movements, you should be at that line. And if you've tipped over it, just pull back a little bit. But you might have already reached that line just with the chia seeds. So, as I say, carefully, slowly, gradually build your fibre levels. Now the very last thing, and do this after you have everything else in place, and still you're having some trouble with your constipation, is magnesium citrate. Now I take 100 milligrams every morning, and that just keeps things moving nicely. Magnesium citrate is something that those of us with IBS are low in naturally, so it's a good thing to have, but it has a laxative effect. So I'm not going to advise it for people with IBS with diarrhea, unless they go very, very easy on it. But for people with constipation, this is certainly something that will help you. Start with 100 milligrams and then build it slowly to whatever level you need it to be at for things to start working. Now, I get tablets because the tablets are 200 milligrams and I can snap them in half to get my 100 milligrams. If you get a capsule, that's much harder to do, and you have to start with a higher amount, and that could cause problems, and you could be running to the toilet, like happened to me the very first time I took it. I just took the dose that was on the bottle, and I spent most of the day in the toilet. So don't make that mistake, and don't follow the instructions, in other words. And also it often says to have it at night, and that's because it can help sleep. I prefer to have it in the morning so that I have the slight laxative effect during the day and not at night when I'm wanting to sleep. Right, so those are the 6 tips. Just build on those gradually until you actually solve your problem. If you haven't solved your problem within those parameters, then I would certainly be looking at getting some testing done to see what is happening in your bowel. I've not yet had a client who hasn't solved their issues by following that protocol. Good luck with that, and goodbye.
Ready to take the fast track to an IBS-free life? I'll show you how. Get started now. Check out the details at strandsofmylife.com/IBS-free. Your reward will be a joyful, symptom-free life.